about the final project. And I want to be sure that you all understand my expectations for the final project, and then I also want to be able to answer any questions that you have about the final project. And one of the things that I want to reiterate with all of you is that so far in this semester, things have been pretty easy in this class. It's been easy from a grading standpoint, and the reason for that is because I introduced you to some things that are really uncomfortable for you. A lot of people have a hard time with thinking and being creative, but even more so, people have a hard time with public speaking. So I'm asking you to be creative, and now I'm asking you to talk about it to people. So that's really uncomfortable for most people. And so I've been super easy on you this semester because of that. I don't want you to mistake that and think that I will grade your final project easy, because that's kind of how the semester has gone. As a matter of fact, I need for you to know this is where you have to perform. You have to take everything you've learned in 386 and 387 and use it in this project. It is worth 30% of your grade. So I don't want you to come into the end of the semester with a high A and then finish the semester with a C. So what I want to do is talk to you all about my expectations for the project and how I'll be grading and what I'm looking for, okay? So the first thing that I want to tell you is if you've already started making your prototype and you're starting with the prototype, you are wrong. If you did, you fell into the quintessential entrepreneur trap. And that trap is, ooh, let's go make a toy, and let's go find all my stuff at home, and let's go ahead and make a toy. And we make a toy that we feel like is fun, and that toy is symbolic of the entrepreneur getting married to their idea and thinking their idea is great, but having no idea of whether or not what you made actually solves a problem. Now, I've been doing this for a lot of years, and it's really easy for me to tell when a student in a project makes a prototype and then tries to fill in the back of it to make problems meet the toy. It's really easy for me to see this from a professional level when entrepreneurs come to me and they've got an idea and they're married to the idea, but they never thought about solving a problem. So I've been doing this for a long time, so it's easy for me to see, and if I see it, then it's going to be bad for you. So I want you to remember everything that you've learned. Businesses exist to solve a problem. So you have to start with the problem. Now, I gave you all an article to read. And in that article, it talks about the problem with plastics. And in that, it gives you a lot of observations of some bad things that are happening with plastics. But remember, we don't solve observations, we solve problems. So your job is to look at those. There's 2 or 3 observations in there that you could build on. Once you do that, then you need to identify the real problem that's happening with the people who have these toys. What's the real problem? And once you do that and you articulate it, then you can come up with multiple solutions. This is where all of your creativity comes in. Remember, we've done this multiple times in 3D6 and 3D7. Come up with multiple solutions. As we do that, then we're also kind of identifying our initial idea of who we think our target market is. So this is where we need to start. Now you're going to notice that if you look at the way that I grade this project, one of the things I tell you is you have to prove to me that what you bring to me as your brilliant solution is actually an entrepreneurial opportunity. So after you brainstorm several solutions for solving the problem, then you need to pick which one of those is the best entrepreneurial opportunity. And entrepreneurial opportunities have 4 components. Those 4 components are: they're timely, they're attractive, they're durable, and valuable. And you're gonna have to prove to me that your solution has these components. And when I say attractive and valuable to that target market. Now, this is something that you're gonna have to research. This is not something that's in the article. You're gonna have to get online and you're gonna have to Google your target market, and you're gonna have to prove to me they want this problem solved. It's a problem. And you're also gonna have to prove to me a little bit that they find it valuable and they'll spend money on it. And as you do that, this is what you're going to put into the notes section of your PowerPoint. So in this project, what you're doing, you've got a few things going on. You're going to be creating the PowerPoints that go along with your pitch, and you're going to be creating a prototype. Now, the actual PowerPoints for the pitch and the prototype and the pitch are part of the points. But that prototype is not the meat of your project. The notes section and how you prove everything to me is the meat of your project. And that's where the points will come from. That is what I grade. So be sure you've got everything in there. If wherever you find your information from, cite your articles. Be sure you pull them from a good source, whether it's like a Forbes article or whatever it is. I'm not asking you to put it like in a specific format, like AP format. It doesn't have to be anything that formal. It's just like, when you find something, just tell me where you found it. And I do go look. I do grade these very specifically because I need to know that you know how to do this. I've spent 2 semesters teaching most of you how to do this. So show me you know how. It's been 2 classes. So, any questions about this so far? Okay. So here we are. We're going to have to, and I think proving the entrepreneurial opportunity to, I can't remember exactly, but let me see here. Yeah, proving this is 50 points to me. Your prototype is 50 points. So that's 100 points of what you've got going on in there. Your level of creativity and innovation is 100 points. Your PowerPoint and presentation is another 100 points. So this whole thing's worth 300 points. So be sure that you're supporting everything in the notes section of that PowerPoint. And your PowerPoints should follow the video from Visual Confidence that we put on there. It should follow the formats that she gave you so they should look appealing and good, okay? All right. So once we get here, now, only now are we ready to start making a prototype. Only now. Not until all that's done. And we're gonna make a prototype, and in that prototype, I'm gonna be looking at your creativity and your innovation. I'll be judging your creativity based on, did you just create a toy that already exists? Because if you do, that's not super creative. Somewhat, but not super. So I'll be judging your creativity there. I'll also be judging your creativity on what items from home did you use to build it? Did you stick with functional fixedness, or did you break out of that? So I'll be looking at, what did you pull together to build this? Okay, so we're looking at creativity and innovation. Now remember, you're gonna be pitching this. So as we're pitching this, what we've got right now, first of all, we've got the first one in the Big Five. We've got the problem. Here we are. Once we get to this point, we're also ready to write our value proposition and create our our prototype. So we've got our big solution. Number 3 in pitching is differentiation. And so one of the other things I'm going to expect you to do is to do some research on who your true competitors are. And truly name them and dismiss them based on real live information, not on something that you made up. So, and when you do that, you need to put the sites and your info into the notes section of your PowerPoint. So for example, let's say we're making chocolate. You could say, I know that Nestle is a leading producer of milk chocolate in the United States. However, the chocolate that we make is made from goat's milk, which means that it is a better product for those people who are lactose intolerant. That's real. Got it? That helping? Okay. So here we are, we're getting into differentiation. And then we can move on and get into the why you and your call to action. So you're gonna be graded on all of this. Another thing that you're gonna be graded on in this is, can you follow the steps of design think? Now you had to put these in order for the test, so you already know what they are. The first one is empathy. And the first step here in empathy goes back to this. You're already doing it. It's identifying the problem. What's the real problem? And you have to use empathy to do that. The second step is define. And this is just where we articulate that problem and articulate our target market. So we're just articulating what we found when we were looking for the problem and our solution, okay? In the target market. The third thing that we do, if you remember the third thing? This is ideate. This is the same thing as coming up with those multiple solutions. Multiple solutions. We ideate. What are things that we could do to solve that problem? Only now, and only now, can we get to actually building a prototype and a toy. So you see, all of this, all of that has to happen before you get to the toy. If not, you're doing it wrong. So all that has to happen. This is what we call our due diligence. We've got to do it all to make sure this is really something that's going to be a successful business. Now, y'all remember, what is the number one reason entrepreneurs fail? Anybody remember?
Because they didn't research.
They didn't, it's called lack of preparation. They didn't do their homework. The number one reason that entrepreneurs fail is a lack of preparation . They do not do their due diligence. The number one reason they fail is not doing their due diligence. The number one reason people will fail this project is not doing their due diligence. Did I say that clearly enough? The number one reason you'll fail is lack of preparation and not doing your due diligence. Okay? Now that we get to the prototype, then we're gonna practice resourcefulness. Some of the things we talked about in stretching and chasing, and you're gonna be doing something, the term for it is called bricolage. And that is where you're only using things that you have at home, and you're being resourceful with those things to build a prototype and to build your toy. Helps you to be more creative this way, and you'll be judged your creativity on how well you pull weird things together and make it work. Okay? All right. Once we do that, then the last step of design think is test. You should be able to prove to me that you've built the prototype and that you've tested it. Ideally, you would test it with your people who fit your target market. I understand that COVID's tough and you probably can't test it, but if you have trouble, let me know and we'll figure it out. We'll do our best, okay? So you test it, gonna make some iterations to the prototype, bring it back, and then what would happen in the real world is we do this several times, and then when we finally got to the last test, when we didn't have a whole lot of different things to iterate, then we could take it to market. So is everybody understanding everything that you have to do for this project, why you should not start with the toy, and what my expectations are when I grade it? Yeah? I'm gonna give you all an example of when I can't remember, it was not last semester, semester before last. This is one of the best ones I've ever had, and so nobody can copy this in the least, so I'm gonna tell you about an example. I had one group who read the article and identified some of the problems going along with plastics. Plastics is a problem in our toys. And so they said, okay, then what we've gotta do is we've gotta figure out that some type of toy made out of recyclable, sustainable materials that is valuable and attractive to a target market. So they're solving the problem of plastics, but they're also understanding that the entrepreneurial opportunity is gotta be, that a target market's gotta wanna buy this. It's gotta be attractive. Well, what they happened to know or stumble upon was that there was a gap in the market for toys for children who had sensory deprivation problems. Whether it was a child that was autistic or on the spectrum, or sometimes kids just have sensory disorders. And so they found that problem, cited the article where there's like, yeah, there's a lack of things out there. They identified the target market. They understood that the kids who were playing with the toys were actually just the end users. The target market was the teachers who were teaching them, was therapists, whether it was occupational therapists or whoever was working with them, and parents. Those were really the customers, the target markets. So they identified this, improved it, go through the whole process, did a really good job of it, and then decided to develop their prototype. By the time they got to the prototype and what the toy looked like, it was really cool. They had like several boxes, small boxes they'd found at home, and they had painted the outside of them with different things. Like, I think even one of them they had painted with like maybe fingernail polish. It was just stuff they had at home, one with shoe polish. And they just glued stuff on the outside of it. Like they took stuffing out of a pillow and glued that on one side. And so what they were looking for are toys that the kids could play with that had different textures and felt different ways to help with the sensory portion of playing with a toy. So they glued that on one side. I think they had like some pom-poms that they glued on one side of it. They pulled some sequins from, I think one of them maybe had a craft kit or something at home and glued some sequins on one side. They made it a lot of different colors and just, it was really, I mean, it looked like something they made at home. It looked like DIY, but it served all the purposes. One of the other things they did is they had another small box and they filled it with rice so that the kids could shake it and it would rattle and make sound. Well, what they found is when they tested it, as you would shake the box, then the rice tended to fall out of the creases of the box. And they were like, this is not good, this is not gonna work. So one of the iterations that they made was they took the rice out of it and they actually went outside and just got some small pebbles and put into the box. It was still the same effect, still did the same thing. They just realized that the small rocks worked better than the rice. And then they came in and told us all about it and pitched it. Great job, did a great job. So does that help everyone understand better, like what the project is about and what my expectations are and what you need to be doing? Yeah? Okay, awesome. You can start video now.